3, 2, and you're on the air.
Where's the nooch? Where's the nooch?
Where's the nooch?
You know this is a vegan household when you hear, where's the nooch? Have you seen the nooch? Hi, everyone. Welcome to my live. Thank you for those of you who were here last week for my very first live. This is a very exciting time for me. It's something I've thought about doing for forever, and now I'm doing it. So last week, I was very ambitious. We didn't get to all the dishes I was hoping to make. And my refrigerator was just packed with ingredients and bits and bobs of things that were cooked. So I thought, I need to cook all this food. So I've sort of decided just about every time I prepare a dish, I'm just going to make a video of it. Not a live, but just so I can start posting that up. Because my desire and my goal here is just to help people navigate going plant-based, particularly around the holidays. I'm hoping to take the intimidation out of it. You can see I don't have a fancy state-of-the-art kitchen. In fact, this kitchen I'm still getting used to. You'll probably see it transform over time. I have all these ideas on how to make it better. It's a rental, so I don't want to go crazy. But anyway, the point is I'm trying to make it easy and accessible for everyone. I really hope that you'll look to me as a resource. I've been cooking this way for a long time. I'm a nutrition and lifestyle coach, so I help a lot of people sort of navigate ingredients. And it's a lot of fun for me. I love doing it. So last week, we made a pumpkin pie, and I used my go-to sort of custardy pie ingredient, which is silken tofu, which I love. But I know some people don't eat soy for whatever reason. In general, don't be afraid of soy. There's a lot of misinformation about it. They've been eating it in Asian countries for thousands of years, and they don't have the rates of cancer and things in a lot of those places like we do here. There's just some confusion about phytoestrogens and estrogens. So if you have a question about that, email me. But having said all that, some people have a little more trouble digesting it, or they might have some kind of issue that doesn't do well with soy, and that's perfectly fine too. So since we made it with silken tofu last time, I wanted to make it with a different filling this time. So this is our Thanksgiving pumpkin pie, and we're going to, of course, use I like a good canned pumpkin. This is an organic, unsweetened, unflavored canned pumpkin. Last week we used silken tofu, and I told Michelle, Pinky, who wanted to know what we could use instead, that I would offer some options. So some of the more popular options are cashews. I use cashew pieces because they're cheaper. So raw cashews can be expensive. They do the same thing. You're just going to soak them and blend them up and make a cream out of them. Or you can also use coconut cream. So you can get either a can of coconut milk and take the cream off the top, or they actually sell cans of just coconut cream. And you can get that at Trader Joe's. You can get that at the Asian market. I actually have leftover cream from the pie last week. We could use this. It was the whipped cream we made for the pumpkin pie, but it does have the tofu in it. We put a little bit of leftover tofu in it, cashew and coconut, so it has all three. So for today, though, I decided I really love, my favorite food of all time is Japanese sweet potatoes. I can eat them. I love to roast them and throw them in my bag and travel with them. They're just such a great snack. They're very versatile. And then I love a good sweet potato pie. And last week we made roasted orange sweet potatoes. So I thought, why don't we use that with our pumpkin instead of the tofu? And I actually Fran Costigan is a very well-known plant-based vegan baker. She teaches for the Ruby culinary course. And I was on an hour Q&A with her yesterday, and somebody was asking her how to make their pumpkin or their sweet potato pie more fluffy. And she said she'll cook like a squash, like a butternut squash or something, and whip it up really well. So that just got me thinking, why don't we just combine the sweet potatoes with the pumpkin, and that'll be our filling. So let's get started. I actually do have some leftover Japanese sweet potatoes, and I was just going to do that. I love them. They're very starchy and dense, but they're not going to have the color. So I'm going to actually combine that with the orange sweet potato. So we want about, I'd say that package and a half of the silken tofu we used for the pie last week was probably about a cup and a half. So I'm going to put what looks to be about 1.5 cups of our sweet potato in here. So you see I've got the orange sweet potato also. And we baked those last week to have with my miso corn butter, which we didn't get to either. So I made a very short video and put it up on Instagram. And then I watched the video after and realized I didn't put the cashews in it. But we're going to make some tonight to have with our other leftover sweet potato. I'm always forgetting ingredients, and I can't believe I'm doing this tonight without any notes for myself. But we're going to wing it because, trial and correction is what I like to call it, not trial and error. You can always fix things. Okay, so let's go ahead and put our pumpkin. So it's a can of pumpkin. That sweet potato actually looks a little light, so I'm going to put a little bit more. And also, if you're, I'm probably babbling away, but say hi if you can. I'd love to know who's here.
I was going to say we've got Barbara, Apple, Rill, Lydia, Kimmy, Lynn Scott.
Oh, hi everyone.
Yeah, getting that whole band back together here.
Oh, I'm so glad. Thank you for coming again. And I don't want to say any names, but again, part of my my goal is to help people eat more plant-based and to make it easy. And there's somebody who I spoke to, who's with us tonight, who I want to give huge kudos to. I'm not going to say any names unless she wants to say who she is, but she's gone plant-based, and she doesn't even have a proper kitchen. So I was very, very, very impressed by that, because that shows to me that you can do it anywhere with determination and some resourcefulness. If you have a good blender, if you have an air fryer or a toaster oven even, and a sink. You really just need a sink and water, and of course something to keep it cold like a refrigerator. But this person doesn't have like an oven, stove, the whole full kitchen. And so I'm not going to complain about my kitchen, because I was very, very, very impressed by that. Okay, so we've got our pumpkin and we've got our sweet potato, and I already put our spices together, which is mostly cinnamon, a little bit of nutmeg. It's the same as last week, pinch of clove. I'm not a big clove fan. And then we're going to put in our sweetener. So we want about 2/3 of a cup. You could use, and again, you saw this last week. Maybe I should do it with a different sweetener this week. We did maple syrup last week. Let's do something different this week.
You're the boss.
Let's do, ooh, I have brown rice syrup. I'm actually going to do a combo. One of my favorite sweeteners, and if you follow some of the plant-based doctors, they're going to tell you just to use dates, and I love dates. But sometimes texture-wise, I like to use something else. So brown rice syrup, I really like. It's a little pricey, so it's not my go-to sweetener. It's fantastic for granola, for the crunchy texture. When I was macrobiotic, I used this a lot with maple syrup, so I thought, let's just mix it up tonight with some brown. Look how thick that is. It's not even coming out. So we'll do a combo of brown rice and maple, which is how I make my my granola, which I'll do on a live sometime. So we'll do about 2/3 of a cup. And I've got like coconut nectar in there. I've got, what else have I got in there?
You name it.
I've got every alternative sweetener. What did I just do with that spoon? This is really thick. It's thicker than usual. Oh, here it is. I've got date sugar, date syrup. I've got monk fruit. The problem with monk fruit, I really like it, is they always mix it with erythritol, which isn't bad, but it is a very processed product. So I try not to use it that much. But I do like the monk fruit. It's just that the monk fruit on its own is a little bitter. Okay, we'll put some maple. And I might put a little bit. So if you were doing the soy-free, you wouldn't use your leftover cream from last week, but you could use some cashew or coconut cream. Because I have to use up my leftovers, and about a week is about as far as you want to go with this. I'm going to use a little bit of it to try to use it up. So about 1/4 of a cup, I'd say. And I'm going to add a little dry sweetener. So I'm going to use some coconut sugar. And if you have any questions, let me know. David's going to read the questions. About 1/4 of a cup. And then we want to have our cornstarch. And I like to get organic cornstarch. I am very aware, and I am actually also myself very conscientious of not going crazy with spending. I've got to watch myself a lot of the time because, we're not rich. So I like to get my stuff in bulk as much as possible. If you bring your own container, it's cheaper to buy it in bulk. And we have Rainbow Grocery here, a lot of food co-ops. You can get bulk. Also, I found that Vitacost, which I think is where I got this. It's an organic cornstarch. It's a big bag, and I've probably had it several months now. They have good prices. And if anybody else has ideas for that, sort of places to go. I like Trader Joe's. They're starting to use less packaging, which was the only reason I didn't like to do a lot of my shopping at Trader Joe's, but they have a lot of good ingredients nowadays. Okay, what else is in my pie? Hang on. I think that's it. Let's see, just want to make sure I don't leave anything out. Okay, so we're going to pulse that up. And, pie crusts aren't really that hard to make. They're pretty easy. But I don't make them that often, so I don't really want to make it on the live. So I just bought a couple of pre-made pie crusts. If we were doing a dessert class, we'll do that another time.
No.
What? You want me to smile?
No, look here.
Oh, I'm looking at the
Yeah,
wrong
look,
one.
that's
Okay.
right.
See, I always think you're telling me to smile.
Oh, well, I mean, you can always smile.
I can't close this. So if you're avoiding oil and like shortening and stuff, store-bought pie crusts, I don't think they make them. Which is why I make my own. And I make a really super simple galette, which I thought I'm going to make a video for, where I make a crust that I use a little bit of, I keep saying I use a little bit of vegan yogurt instead of oil. You can use applesauce, you can use flax egg, you can use banana. But I was at Trader Joe's, and they have these pre-made pie crusts that don't have any eggs or dairy in them. They do have oil, so I just decided for the purpose of showing you the alternate pie filling, I'm just going to use the store-bought crust. Okay, let's get that going. The other thing I wanted to tell you, which is exciting, is, hang on, bake, 325, 350, 350, and then I'll do this for 45 minutes. One of my, friends and sort of plant-based heroes is Ann Gentry. Lauren Bernick from Well Elephant and I started a podcast. We've done 6 interviews. We interviewed Jane and Ann Esselstyn. We interviewed Alona Pulday. We interviewed a really fantastic friend of mine, Joan Moran, who at 60 published her first book, 60 Sex and Tango, and she's published 3 more books since then, and she's almost 80 now. Anyway, Ann Gentry, who is the founder of Real Food Daily in Los Angeles and cookbook author and one of the pioneers of the vegan plant-based movement, she and I are friends also on social media, and I asked her to be on our podcast. So I'm interviewing her tomorrow, or Lauren and I are. So when we release our podcast, which will be in a few weeks, she'll be one of the interviews. And the reason why I'm telling you about this is because when I lived in Venice Beach, I used to eat at Real Food Daily all the time. It was like my home away from home. And she came out with a cookbook back then, and I was so excited. And when at Thanksgiving time, there were a couple times where I was single, I wasn't married yet, I lived alone, and my girlfriends and I would get together. And so we were vegan, and we didn't want to eat the turkey and everything. So we'd get the Thanksgiving feast to go from Real Food Daily, which was fantastic. It had mashed potatoes and cornbread stuffing, and there was a vegan roast and pecan pie. It was phenomenal. Anyway, all the recipes are in here. And when David and I got married what year did we get married? 2003. 2003. They made our wedding cake, and our wedding was not a bunch of vegans. It was everyone, our families and our friends, and everyone went nuts for the cake. And I've made the cake as well. So it's not oil free. You'd have to modify. But the reason I'm telling you is because it's going out of print, and Anne is selling copies of it. This is a fantastic book. The lentil walnut pate is one of the most popular things I bring to my in-laws during the holidays. It's so good. The seitan tacos, just so many, the yin yang salad. So I'm just telling you because soon it's not going to be available. And if you can get a used copy, great. But I'm not making any of her dishes tonight, but I will. Okay, so we're going to get the pie going. And then I decided, since I bought some pastry flour, some frozen pastry dough, because I thought maybe we'd have time to make the pot pie last week. We could make it tonight. Okay, so let's get our pie in our pre-made pie crust. And this pie crust happens to be gluten-free. I got it at Trader Joe's because it didn't have the dairy or eggs or anything in it. And there's no shame in buying the pre-made pie crust. Yeah, one of the things I was thinking about is, you know, I like to make this way of cooking and eating really easy, help make it easy for people. But I'm also very conscious of wanting to make it not too expensive, because there's this misconception that eating this way costs a lot of money. And it's a bummer, because really the reason it can cost a lot of money is if you're trying to make it super easy. So you're getting like the pre-made pie crusts and the bagged pre-washed cooked, pre-washed, pre-chopped vegetables, those kinds of things, or the vegan meats and cheeses and stuff. And it's healthier to make your own. It's just it's not as easy, but it can be easier. So that's my goal. Okay, that looks pretty good. So there it is. It's kind of like a pumpkin sweet potato pie. Okay, so now let's make the pot pie. Okay, so last week we didn't get to the apple crisp I wanted to show, so I made a video and posted it. And that recipe I created in my effort to reduce the number of dishes I have to wash. So basically it's an apple crisp. If you go to Instagram, and it's on my YouTube page, it's an apple crisp that I make in a wide pan. You put the crisp on top, and then you put it under the broiler, and that way you're not using a bunch of baking dishes. So this pot pie is the same thing. I've decided we're going to just do it all in the pan. So I'm using cast iron tonight, so I'm going to have to use a little bit of oil. It's really hard to cook in cast iron without it. If you don't want a little bit of oil, then use a regular wide pan. And so that's my disclaimer.
Can you move that a little bit closer to you, the whole apparatus?
Yeah. How's that?
Good.
Is that better?
Overhead, we'll be able to see it.
Is that better?
Perfect. Yeah, we'll be able to see it perfectly.
Okay. So I've got my mirepoix, my onion, celery, and carrot here. So we're going to start with that, and we're going to get those softened. See, I should have heated. The thing with cast iron is you got to preheat it, and I forgot. So I'm going to turn the heat up a bit until it gets hot, and then I'm going to turn it down. So I'm not going to add more oil, though. If it starts sticking, I'm going to use my vegetable broth. Okay, so we're going to get that going. And when that's getting soft, I'm going to add my garlic. And then we're going to add, the exciting thing that I got, last week we used rosemary, we used thyme, we used marjoram, we used sage. I love all those spices, but I was very excited when I went to Trader Joe's and they have this herbes de Provence mix, which is all those things plus a little lavender. So I decided tonight I'm going to use that for the pie, the pot pie. And I really love herb and spice blends. They're great for all kinds of things. I had a lot of leftover potatoes from last week that we didn't cook, and they were starting to sprout. And so I took the eyes out of them tonight, and I boiled them and drained them. So we're going to use them. I'm not sure for what yet. 2 things I would do with these. One, and the reason I'm talking about them now is because this is why I like the herb blends and the spice blends, like Green Goddess, which is this one. This one's one of my favorites. Because what we can do with these, I had to cook them. They were starting to sprout. So I boiled them up till they were fork tender. And we can either make mashed potatoes, which everybody loves, or we can just put them on parchment paper, smash them, and roast them and make smashed potatoes, which I always love. So sometimes, I know last week I talked about during Thanksgiving time when we have so much rich food on the table, I like to have some super simple sides. Like a steamed green with a sauce or something. And the smashed potatoes are kind of like that too. They're simple. And I think I'm out. I was like, why isn't that heating up?
Oh.
I know.
You have another?
Yeah, I think this is my last one, so I better get some more. Okay, and while we're cooking this, I'm going to work on something else that we talked about last week that we never got to. 2 other things, actually. Okay, so we're going to get that going now.
Can I tell you something?
What?
Pass along a message. Barbara Berkman says, "You are a blessing, Lisa."
Aw. Barbara, you are. Barbara is an incredible person. And we had a really great conversation. Barbara, is it okay if I talk about that? I guess I just did. We had a great chat this week, and I really enjoyed it. And I was very inspired by Barbara. Okay, so let me rinse out my food processor, and we are going to make the orange cranberry relish that I didn't get around to last week while this is cooking. Finally, it's starting to sizzle.
Barbara says yes, you can talk about it.
Thank you, Barbara. So the reason I want to talk about Barbara is because Barbara had a really horrible thing happen in New Jersey. And that's a good reason why we should be all going plant-based, because the weather patterns are crazy. And she got hit with a tornado, and it demolished her house for the most part. And she's having to prepare. She's just, decided to go whole food plant-based for many good reasons. And she doesn't even have a kitchen. She just has a room with a bathroom with a sink and stuff. And she is doing it. She got I think it's an air fryer Barbara got, like an air fryer oven. And she's got a good blender or food processor. And that's the spirit. Like, she's very resourceful, and she's been preparing her own food. She's not letting that stop her. And she's in a house that's been demolished by a tornado, which to me, it just blew my mind. I'm like, that's so inspiring. So I just wanted to share that with everyone. Barbara, thank you for sharing that with me. And there's something else I was going to say about that. Just that, again, my goal is always just to help figure this out and make it easier. So I think Barbara really inspired me because she's managed to do it. And also, we're all on our different paths. And so we know that we have to sort of, just honor where we are. Because we talked about that too, how everyone's sort of starting from a different place. And sometimes we don't realize the progress we've made. If, like, for instance, one of the conversations we had is like weight loss for health. And people could, anybody could lose, 20 or 30 pounds in a very short amount of time by a gazillion different ways, but it's not really healthy. It's the slow and steady that wins the race. Just changing your habits, not like the goal necessarily to like lose all the weight, but changing your habits to more healthy whole foods. The weight just naturally arrives, a healthy weight arrives over time, and it's more sustainable because all of a sudden, not all of a sudden, but over time you've created these new habits and your body's adapted, and then you discovered all this wonderful food you can eat and maintain a healthy weight, and which is much better than like, I don't know, just going on a keto diet or a paleo diet where you for sure can drop a bunch of weight really fast, but they're not sustainable when you cut out carbohydrates like that. And they're very restrictive as well. And as you all know, this is not a restrictive diet. There's so many things we get to eat. I wonder, now I'm worried that we're not going to have enough time to bake this, but that's okay. We'll just keep talking. All right, so, because I'm just like a chatter bunny tonight. Okay, so while those are cooking, I'm going to work on this cranberry orange relish. And I made this because every Thanksgiving in Austin, my friend Karen comes over for dinner. I love cooking for Karen. She loves my food. And she always she wants to bring something. She brings wine, and she always brings her cranberry orange relish. And I've never asked her how to make it because she always makes it. So I thought I need to try to replicate, but I'm not going to ask her. I'm just going to try to make my own. So I got fresh cranberries, and I've got some dates that I pitted. So this is about a half a bag of fresh cranberries. And I've got about 6 medjool dates in here. And the thing I love about her relish is that she uses the whole orange. I don't think, can you hear the neighbors?
Right. In the distance.
I'll talk about that in a second. So anyway, so I'm going to use a whole orange, and we're just going to quarter it. That way if we, see there's some seeds in there. We want to get the seeds out because the seeds are going to be bitter. But we're going to use the skin and all. This is an organic orange. Whenever I'm using the rind or the skin of citrus, I like to get organic because of the pesticides, but if you can't, because I can't always, just scrub it really well, maybe with a little vinegar or something. So we're going to actually I'm going to cut it a little bit smaller, and we're going to pulse this until we get a nice relish texture, and that's such a wonderful condiment. And my little secret ingredient, we have a really great Middle Eastern market right near us, and I had gotten some rose water to make a cake for David for his birthday with rose water and cardamom. Ooh, now this is too hot. And they had orange blossom water, so I'm going to put a little bit of that in, but wait a minute, this is too hot. So the cast iron gets really hot. It's really tricky cooking on these little propane stoves. Yeah, the camp stoves. But it's good for making videos if you don't have an island kitchen, which I've never had. Okay, so we got a little browning in here. That's okay. Still gonna taste good. So I had lots of the trumpet mushrooms left over from last week. So I'm going to use those as our sort of chicken for the pot pie. I'm going to go ahead and throw our garlic in. So I've got a couple cloves of garlic. So I've got about one onion, a couple of sticks of celery, a couple of small carrots just chopped up. And then I'm going to add, last week if you remember, we took a fork and we shredded our mushrooms to have them look like chicken meat. So they'll sort of mimic that texture. And I'm going to leave them a little thicker so they don't disintegrate. I'm going to throw these in and let them cook down a little. And then once they cook down a little bit more, I'm going to add some seasoning, and then we'll finish it up and get the pie crust on it. Okay, so back to our relish. So we're just going to pulse this up. And I'm going to put a little bit of this orange blossom. You don't have to have the orange blossom water. It's really inexpensive. I think this cost under $2, but it just was something I wanted to try out. I don't know that it adds anything because you've got the zest of the orange, which is where this probably comes from anyway. And after last week's class, I had a lot of the roast because I had partially cooked one that I finished cooking that night, and then I had another one because we started cooking one. I showed you the first step. So one of the ingredients for our pot pie, since I had so much left over, is we're going to chop that up as our chicken also. So we're going to have the mushrooms and the leftover Ode to Cornelius turkey breast. So we're laughing. You probably can't hear it now, but we moved into this apartment in San Francisco about a year ago, and it was like really quiet. We were the only ones. There's 2 apartments in the building, and there's a cottage in the back, and we were the only ones in the building at first for months. And then we got a neighbor in the back, really nice man, quiet guy. And then we got 3 college students upstairs, and you would think that would be noisy, but it wasn't. 2 of them are medical students, another's a poli-sci student. They go to UCSF, and they're super sweet. And so all is well. David and I work from home. It's quiet. But then our neighbor next door moved away, and a family moved in, and they've got 3 young kids, and the kids are really noisy. They scream every day and every night, all day long. I think now it's not as bad. I think they're in school, and we're parents. We understand. It's hard to manage your kids when they're young, but the problem is that there's kind of an alley between our buildings. And they have their windows open all the time, so it just creates this echo chamber when the kids are screaming. So we're trying to figure out a way to ask them to keep their windows closed at night when the kids get home and they're fighting and all that, because it's very noisy now and it never used to be. And we love kids, but it's again, it's that echo chamber that's the problem. They probably don't even realize it, because everyone here is so quiet, so they don't hear all the noise. Okay, I'm going to taste this. It's so orangey. So that's simple, right? Fresh cranberries, dates, and a whole orange. Take the seeds out. Probably would be great with other dried fruit in it, like raisins or currants. But it's a wonderful base. So that's something you could easily bring to a Thanksgiving gathering. Okay, I'm going to prep my other vegetables for the pot pie. Oh, you can see where I had to scoop out a bunch of spots from my potato here. I'm going to cut it a little smaller than I did last week because I'm going to try to speed up the cooking process a little bit here. Okay, so now I'm going to add my herbes de Provence. So all herbes de Provence it's almost, I don't know, it's almost like a Thanksgiving mix. It's thyme, marjoram, sage, rosemary, and a little lavender. I'm going to put about 1.5 tablespoons, I'd say that is. Oh, it smells so good. So this is a little bit of clean out the fridge. We had leftover mushrooms. I've always got carrots and celery. I've always got onions around, so that part's easy. I had half a bag of frozen peas because we used frozen peas last week in our dumpling stew. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to put the roux. We're going to make the roux. So I was going to use my brown rice flour for those of you who don't do gluten, but I couldn't find it. I might be out of it. So I'm just going to use a little whole wheat pastry flour. And that was something that Fran talked about last night. A lot of people were asking about sort of the differences in flours for different applications. And when you're making dishes at like Thanksgiving and Christmas time and you're trying to sub out like enriched white flour, you want to go with, like for like a pie crust, for example, for baking, you want to go with a flour that's not going to be such a strong flavor, like a whole wheat flour, right? Brown rice flour might be a little strong tasting, but like a whole wheat pastry flour, or I like the einkorn flour I had is very mild tasting. Although with this dish, so that would be for a pie crust. With this dish, because it's like a heartier dish, you could probably get away with whole wheat here. But if you were making a pie crust that you wanted to be light and fluffy, you'd probably, if you had whole wheat flour, you'd probably want to mix it with either a white wheat or a whole wheat pastry flour, or a white, some kind of light flour. Fran is fantastic. It was I think it was free for everyone. I did the Ruby, ROUXBE culinary course when it was first developed, the plant-based culinary course, because my friend Chad created it. So I got to do it in the beginning, and I learned so much, and it's doing really, really well. Now they have the essential baking course, and they also have the forks over knives course, which is, all oil-free, whole food, plant-based, low-fat. So definitely worth checking out if you want to learn some sort of really great basic skills. So we're gonna cook this up and let it get a little toasty. And another thing I talk about a lot is how when I started on this path I was macrobiotic. I came across that completely accidentally. I didn't even know what it was, but I met a woman and she helped me get rid of my asthma, clear up my cystic acne. I just got way healthier within 6 months of going macrobiotic, and I didn't know how to cook. So the book that was my Bible I wanted to share with you is Aveline Couchy's Complete Guide to Macrobiotic Cooking. And this book was so essential for me because I didn't know how to cook whole grains and legumes from scratch. So this book this is before Instapot, so this was all done in pots and pans on the stove. I learned about cooking beans with kombu, which adds minerals to your beans but also helps make them more digestible. I learned about the different types of miso for different applications, the different types of seaweeds. I learned about all the different root vegetables and squashes. So this was really a really great book for me at the time, and I still refer back to it if I'm like, oh yeah, how do I make sticky rice again? Or there's like a couple of dishes in here, like a lotus root that I made where you stuff it with like a miso and you do like a batter on it, then you slice it up. It's almost like a tempura. And then just basic, like how to cook your greens, very basic but fantastic. And then another one was Meredith McCarty. This is a book I had back in the, I guess, the late 80s also, that I learned to bake with all whole grain flours and like brown rice syrup and maple syrup. It does have oil, so now when I make these recipes I have to modify them. But those were some of the books. And then there was a restaurant in New York. I don't even know if you can get this cookbook anymore, but Angelica's Kitchen in New York was a vegan restaurant, very much like Real Food Daily, that had, your basic beans, grain, and green plate. They had wonderful cornbread that had like brown rice in it. So those are just some of the books that I started out with. Okay, so this is nice and toasty. Let's go ahead and add our broth. So I've got about two cups of broth. Oh wait, no, I don't want to use this broth. I want to use this broth. I've got two broths here. This one is the more of a vegan chickeny bouillon. The other one's a darker one. So we're going to go ahead and put this one in, and we're going to put our potatoes in, and we want to cook those down a little bit. And we're going to bake this, so it's going to keep baking in the oven, cooking in the oven. So the potatoes don't need to be completely cooked because they're going to continue roasting. Any questions, anybody? Hey, can anybody share with me? One of the things I like to ask people is to share with me something really great, like the best part of your week or day. It could be anything. It could be something you cooked, someone you had coffee with. It could be, for me, one of the best parts of my week was getting some fresh new dish towels from Target. Just like one of those simple things that makes my life so much easier. I'd love to hear what everybody's best, doesn't have to be some grand thing, just anything. I think I'm going to need a little bit more broth in here. So we're going to let that cook for a couple more minutes. And then I decided, since I love chickpeas and I had batch cooked some, I'm going to throw some chickpeas in, and I'm going to throw in some peas. If you wanted to put frozen corn in here, you could put frozen corn in. And then to thicken it up a little bit more and make it creamy, I'm going to make a very quick ½ cup of cashew cream. Doesn't that look good? It smells fantastic. Okay, so I'm going to make up some cashew cream. And I'm going to use about ½ cup of these raw cashew pieces. And if you don't have a high-speed blender, like this little NutriBullet, you want to soak them first in some hot boiling water for like 10 or 15 minutes. And you could just use water, or you could use some vegetable broth. Actually, should I use vegetable? No, I'm not going to use vegetable broth because I'm going to make something else in this container and I don't want to clean it. So we're just going to go ahead and put an equal amount of liquid. So the liquid was getting a little low in here. I'm going to just add a little bit more. You don't want it to be too soupy. You want it to be nice and thick when it bakes, but I think that we're fine. As long as you can still see your vegetables and things on top, we'll be fine. I'm going to add my cream. And you can skip this, or you could use like oat milk. Actually, I need to make it a little thinner. You could use oat milk, soy milk, almond milk. I'm just wanting to add a little bit of fat to make it that sort of rich pot pie texture and flavor.
I'm coming to deliver news.
Go ahead.
Barbara made granola and onion rings today.
Fantastic! Wow, that's incredible.
Yes. And Apple says it's been sunny in Vancouver, which is unusual, and it's bringing her joy. Wow, and here we go. Lydia says, I've been starting to take walks in the cool air here in Montreal. Well, we got a lot of, at least a couple Canadians today.
Yeah. So, that sounds like you're celebrating nice weather, wonderful food. Wow, onion rings. Did you do those in the air fryer, Barbara? Probably, huh? I know you have an air fryer. I'm chopping up some of that leftover roast from last week. So I'm using leftovers. If you weren't using leftovers, you could do either mushrooms or chickpeas, or you could chop up some tofu or some seitan. I'm just using all of these because I've got all of them in my fridge. This is a clean out the fridge class.
She says yes to the air fryer.
Okay. That sounds so good. I love onion rings. What did we do before air fryers? We had to eat everything really fried and dripping with oil, and that sounds fantastic. Anything else? Okay, so this is about ready for the crust to go on. So I'm just going to put it on top. And like I said, I'm doing it all in the pan because I don't want to have to dirty another dish. If we wanted to do it like a pie and use 2 crusts, then I would use a pie pan, which I don't have. Another one, I only have one here. I got to bring mine back from Austin. So this is nice and thick and creamy. One thing I'm going to do before I put the pie crust, the puff pastry on it, is I'm going to taste it and just make sure it doesn't need any seasoning of any kind. Look at that. David, do you see that? That's pretty good, huh?
It looks like the real thing.
It's almost
Oh, look at
exactly.
it bubble.
Yeah, it's almost exactly like what we made last week, only a different shape, different form. Oh my gosh. Whoa, that is so good. I'm so excited. Okay. Let's put this aside and get our dough. So these have oil. Again, I'm going to do other classes where we make our own dough for things. But I got this at Target today because I already had this one from last week. And this one's really expensive. I got it at Whole Foods. And I was looking for the one. There's one I used to get called like Aussie. That's also accidentally vegan, but they don't have it anymore. That one was only a few dollars. This one was really expensive. I don't know. It was $12. I think that's a lot. And this one was like $4. This is, it has, I think hydrogenated oil in it, so it's not healthy. But around the holidays, in a pinch, you're going to potluck. You don't want to make it from scratch. I like to use these. Pepperidge Farm. Who knew, right? And then you just want to make sure you defrost them like 40 minutes or so. Okay, let's see if I can do this. Let's see if I can roll this out. I need to get a good rolling pin here. My good rolling pin is in Austin because our son Judah is a fantastic baker. He makes the most amazing vegan baked goods. In fact, he made cupcakes for Billie Eilish and her family, and they went nuts for them. That's a story I'll share another time. But they went crazy for his cupcakes.
I'm going to put up a picture of the challah bread he just made.
Oh yes, he just sent us pictures of a challah he made. Of course, it's all got, vegetable shortening and Miyoko's butter and sugar, but he's a really, really good baker. I don't have enough room to roll this out. I need a better rolling pin. So anyway, the rolling pin is with our son in Austin. This one I got from my local Buy Nothing group.
While you're rolling that out, I know it's been a while since you mentioned our wedding earlier, but I'm putting up a couple of pictures here.
We got an Excalibur dehydrator, and we got, here, I gotta get that to stick around the sides. We did raw food classes with Matt Amston, who was like one of the premier raw food chefs at the time. We did events with David Wolf, who's also a very well-known raw foodist. And we went to this Anthony Robbins seminar, weekend seminar, where we had to walk across hot coals in our bare feet in the pouring rain. It was raining in LA when we did that. You want to put some vents in the top of this. So this isn't going to be fancy. And anyway, we had been raw for a while. Like we'd make our juice and go to the seminar and make our, raw cuisine. And one day I just felt so sick to my stomach. We're getting ready to get married. Like we were a couple months away from our wedding. And And can you set the timer for 30 minutes?
Yes.
Anyway, so one morning I woke up and I was like, I can't do the juice and the raw food. I really want an Amy's California veggie burger on a toasted Ezekiel English muffin. I just was craving something cooked. The thought of having raw just, ooh. And I didn't know why I felt that way. And so I made an Amy's burger, and David couldn't believe it. I was eating cooked food. We hadn't eaten cooked food in a while, and it really helped settle my stomach. And it was shortly after I found out I was pregnant. And we had already been planning our wedding. But so in that picture, I was 4 months pregnant. Okay, so we are now going to make the miso corn butter that we didn't get to last week. So we've got about 3/4 of a cup of frozen corn in here. And it's partially thawed because I've had it sitting out. If it's not thawed, you want to just thaw it a little bit. In fact, no, I'll put a little bit of warm water in it maybe. And then we're going to blend it up with some miso. And I have this low sodium miso. Trader Joe's just started carrying this miso paste. This would work too. I love that they're carrying this. This is just their frozen corn. And we're going to add some plant milk. And then the thing that I left out on the video I posted was the cashews. So you want to have a little bit of fat, so just about 1/4 of a cup of cashews in here. And again, if you don't have a high-speed blender, you want to soak them in hot water for a few minutes. And let me grab I don't know where my jar of nutritional yeast is. I'm going to grab my bag.
Okay.
So we're not going to put a whole lot of nooch in here, just a tablespoon. Or actually, no, not a tablespoon, a teaspoon. Teaspoon of nooch. You don't want it too noochy. We're trying to get a butter, and I came up with using corn because it's a little bit sweet. And I thought the cashew, just a little bit of cashew would add a little bit of fat without all the oil and everything that butter has in it. The miso's got the umami flavor and adds a little bit of salt. So we're going to put a teaspoon of miso. And then once you make it, just taste it. If you want it a little more salty, add a little more miso. You could always add more nooch after, but start with just a little because it doesn't need much. And then just to brighten the flavor a little bit, I'm going to put a teeny, you don't want too much lemon, just enough to give it a little brightness. You don't want to really taste the lemon. And then we're going to whip this up in our little NutriBullet. I'm going to put in some plant milk. And it will thicken as it sits, so don't worry if it seems a little thin at first. The recipe's on my website, and this is fantastic on baked potatoes. Last week I had planned to make it for the baked sweet potatoes, so if you're going to be cooking Thanksgiving dinner or going to a potluck, you can take some of this and everyone can have it on their baked goods. I really love it on toast. What else do we eat this? I eat it sometimes out of the container on the spoon because it tastes so good. But it's really good on potatoes, baked sweet potatoes especially. I love it on, and just some bread, a good sourdough bread. Okay, and if you wanted it to be a little brighter, you could put a little pinch or two of turmeric in it to make it a little more yellow. But it's just like so good and so simple. So in the video I made on Instagram, I forgot to put the cashews in it, and it actually was still really good. But I like, because it's supposed to be like a butter product, I like a little bit of fat. Yum. Let's go put a little bit on our sweet potato. And it'll thicken up as it sits in the fridge. And if you want to serve it warm, just cook the corn a little bit, either put it in the microwave or steam it, and then blend it up and you can serve it warm. But it's fantastic. Would you want a bite?
Yes, I don't need it.
Gosh, I knew I was going to forget something, you guys.
What'd you forget?
I knew it because I didn't put it in front of me. It's not a big deal. So the pot pie, again, I was just trying to use up all the vegetables that I had. And I like a one pot meal, so I like to get my root vegetables, my greens, my beans. I like to get everything in one dish. So, so I washed my kale and I was going to chop some up and put it in, but instead we'll have it on the side.
That's not too big of a loss.
It's not a big deal, but I was like, wait, I wanted to put some greens in there. You could put chopped spinach in there, put some, whatever, chard would be good, but I forgot. Okay, ooh, our pie. How's the pie doing? Pie needs a little more time.
How
Oh,
about
maybe not.
that yam?
Did it, huh?
How about that yam?
Oh, you want it?
Yeah.
Here. Okay, let me check the pie. This is our new air fryer, and we just sent a note to Breville because you can't really see the temperature readings, the little panel there. If you look at it straight on, you can't see it. You have to look at it from an angle to see the temperature and what setting it's on. It's very strange. I don't think this is quite ready. Okay, that needs a little bit more time. Okay, so our pot pie's in the oven, our pumpkin pie's almost done. We made our relish, and we made our miso corn butter. And then, what was the other thing I was thinking of making? Okay, we're not going to do it today. I always get so overly ambitious. The other thing I'm going to make, and I'll just probably make a video of it since I have the extra puff pastry, I'm going to make a Wellington, and I'm going to do lentils. Maybe we can do this. Maybe we could do it next week, or maybe I'll do it the day before Thanksgiving. I'm going to make a Wellington. When you have the store-bought puff pastry, they're super easy. I'm going to use lentils, ground up walnuts to create the meat. And I might use, I keep looking at there instead of there, I might use some leftover, I have some leftover chestnuts from the stuffing we made last week. I might put some of those in. But then I was thinking, when I was a kid, my mom made this, and you guys probably, some of you might be familiar with this, but my mom used to make a meatloaf that had raisins in it. And I remember that. I loved it. She put like these hard-boiled eggs in the middle of the meatloaf, but what I loved about it was like the salty, savory, fatty meat with the raisins in it. So I thought, what if I throw some raisins in my lentil Wellington? So I'm thinking about that, creating some recipe with has rosemary and raisins, maybe a little hint of cinnamon in there, with the lentils, a little vegan beef broth, and some ground walnuts, and maybe some breadcrumbs. So that's something I'm working on. I've made Wellingtons before. Last year I made a lentil Wellington, and then I did one for David and Judah that had Impossible Burger in it because they really wanted that meaty Wellington. The year before I made one that had portobello mushrooms in it. It was a mushroom Wellington. That was fantastic. But not everybody loves mushrooms, so I was really the only one who ate that, and Karen. So Wellingtons, if you have the puff pastry, and for those of you who bake, if you make your own puff pastry, bless you. I've made it before, and to me it's just easier since I only eat it once or twice a year to buy it at the store. But anyway, so I'm going to either make a video or we'll do it live just before Thanksgiving. We'll make a Wellington, and I have some other things I want to make. I posted a video of my mom's tahini green beans. If you haven't seen it, check it out. It's basically just steamed green beans that you toss with some raw chopped garlic, tahini, and either tamari soy sauce or Bragg's. My mom created that dish from the green beans in her garden, and when our son was little, that's all he wanted to eat all the time. He would eat pounds of them, and I would put them in his lunchbox cold, and to this day, it's one of our favorite side dishes. I'm about to post a video. Another super simple side dish that I make all the time is steamed collard greens. And, just plain steamed collard greens, but I take sunflower seeds and I toast them, In fact, while we're waiting, let's go ahead and do that with the, we'll do it with the kale since I have the kale. And this is, we're sort of improvising tonight. So while we're waiting for the pot pie, let's go ahead and make a side dish of greens.
And by the way, Apple says that she made the miso corn butter and substituted oats for cashew.
Oh, how'd it turn
And
out?
she said it was very yummy.
Oh, fantastic. I love that. So you made it fat-free or low, super low fat. That's great. Okay, so this is something I've been making since I was macrobiotic in the 80s. I don't even remember if I came up with this on my own or somebody taught me how to do it. So we're going to toast some sunflower seeds. So we're going to let this get hot, and we're going to dry toast the sunflower seeds. Oh, I know what we can make while we're waiting for the pie. I was going to do we want to do smashed potatoes or mashed? Mashed or smashed?
If you've got a surface to smash them on, let's do
Well,
that.
I was thinking of doing mashed because
Okay.
I could, the other dish I wanted to make, which I'm not going to make tonight, is a shepherd's pie, which is basically lentils and mushrooms, and it's a layer of like your meat made from lentils and
Oh, so
mushrooms
then
and
you
things.
could roll the
And then
mashed
you put the
potatoes
mashed
into it. Yeah,
potato
that's
on
great.
top in a
Do
pie.
that. Yeah.
Well, I'm not going to make that right now. So, but if I make the mashed potatoes, then I can make the video of the lentil
That's
shepherd's
what I'm saying.
pie.
I could go ahead and make the mashed potatoes now then.
Okay. All right. So let's get this going. Because I'm just trying to make some things while we're waiting for the pot pie.
I'll have to.
You have the timer on, right?
Yep.
Okay. So you want to get your pan nice and hot. Now we're going to put enough sunflower seeds in here just to coat the bottom. And I love this with collards, but since I washed the kale and we haven't used it yet, I'm going to do it with the kale. It's great with kale, any dark green, mainly collards and kale. So we're going to toast these up. When I need a plate to cool them on. I got to figure out what I'm going to do with all that leftover roast. I think I'm going to slice it up and freeze it.
Okay.
Well, no, then what though? But then we won't eat it.
There's no room in the freezer.
What can I make with it? I need to make something with it. I got to think of something. If anybody has any other, so we got pot pie. We did our dumpling stew. What would be a fun thing to do with that? What do we do with leftover? What do people do who make turkey do with their leftover turkey? What are some popular dishes? We got the pot pie. I need some ideas for that leftover roast. Sandwiches, pot pie, dumpling stew. Isn't there? I could try oh, you know what I can make? Somebody asked me to make a marsala.
Oh, here's a pozole. You can put it in pozole verde.
Great idea. I just made a pot of pozole verde. It was fantastic.
Yes.
I'm about to do a video for that as well. Well, I love that idea. Thank you. Oh, enchiladas. I can make enchiladas.
Sure.
I like that. We live in San Francisco now, and in the Mission District, there are all these fantastic shops that have hand-ground mole sauces. They have mole rojo, the red mole. They have the black mole. And they're all accidentally vegan. So I made mole enchiladas recently. Okay, so you can hear these popping. When they start to pop and turn golden is when we want to soon add either tamari soy sauce, Bragg's coconut aminos. I find the coconut aminos to be a little sweet, so I only like them for certain things. I've never tried them for this, but I'm sure they'd be good.
Oh, yeah. That's
Okay, but I really love the low sodium tamari. It's my favorite. So what we're going to do is we're just going to drizzle. I guess it's about a little less than a tablespoon, about a tablespoon. And we're just going to shut off the heat and toss that until they're coated and they start to dry. Kind of like we did the maple pecans last week with the maple syrup. Only this is sunflower seeds and low sodium tamari. And I make a batch of these and I keep them in a jar with a lid so that I always have them for my greens. You could throw them on salad. They're good on, baked yam. Just one of those condiments I love to have. Adds a little crunch, a little salty pop. And you know, if you're avoiding the salt, you can do them just without any tamari. Just toast the sunflower seeds. I've done them like that before too. Okay, so these will continue to get crispy as they dry. And in the video I made, which I haven't posted yet with the collards, I talked about how I used to steam my greens and do this, but in 2 different pots. I'm like, why did I do that? It was such a, dirtying up a pan I didn't need to make dirty. So I got smart, and I'm just going to steam my greens right in there. Because we're going to be putting the tamari seeds on them. It doesn't matter that there's a little tamari in here, right?
Just a single seed still.
I see that.
In there.
I see that. Would you grab me the steamer lid behind you? I think it's in the top of the blue thing, David. You know
I'm sorry.
the
Yes,
bamboo one. So you just want to put enough water to steam it. And I like my greens bright green.
We just had a green screen fail.
We did?
Because those are kind of like the green, and so
It looked like there was nothing in the
it
pan.
looked like there was a butcher block in the pan.
Oh, funny. That's fine. So we're just gonna let that steam for a minute or two. I like my greens bright green. Some people like their kale and collards cooked a lot more, like my stepdad. If I cook kale like this, he won't eat it. And like he's Italian, and I posted a video of I made a rapini, which is broccoli rabe with garlic and crushed red pepper, and then I added some cooked vegan Italian sausage, and that's like a very popular Italian dish that we love, and you could toss pasta in it or just have it as a side dish. But when my Italian stepdad, who's from Naples, makes it, he cooks the rapini till just really cooks it, stews it almost, and it's delicious, but it's different. And so when he cooks kale, that's what he does. He likes his greens really cooked. But he's 90, and he wears dentures, so it's probably easier to eat. Okay, so you see how quickly that's steamed? This is how I like my kale. Just so it's still super bright green, still has some chew to it. And that's it. And then we're going to take our seeds and just garnish it. And this is so simple. It's almost like, what? That's it? But it's so good. It's almost like eating popcorn. You can just snack on this if you keep it out on your counter and you're home doing stuff. You can snack on it all day. But that is one of my favorite things. Try it with collards. When I do it with the collards, I take the collard stems and I chop them up small and I throw those in too. The kale stems are a little tough sometimes, so I don't do it as often, but with the collards, it usually works really well because they have more water in the stem. Do you want some greens?
Yeah. There, there's a plate. Oh, let me switch to a camera that you can see.
How was the sweet potato?
Delicious.
Okay. All right. Now, how much more time do we have on the pot pie?
11 minutes.
Okay.
Mm.
I didn't even notice this went off. I think this needs a little more time. Let's see. No, this is done.
Where's this kale from?
The farmer's market.
It's absolutely
So here's
vibrant.
our pie. Our pie is done. I'm just going to let it cool. I didn't make maple pecans yet, but I probably will. I've got a little leftover cream, so I'm going to let that cool. And then I wanted to just show you, and I don't know, y'all probably make some version of this already, but so when I make mashed potatoes, maybe I'll make those on for Thanksgiving, the night before Thanksgiving, when I do the Wellington. But I like to put a little cashew cream in them because I like a little fat. But I think the key to mashed potatoes is really just getting, I like to put some garlic in there. I like to put a little chopped rosemary in there, lots of seasoning, and just getting them soft with a potato masher.
I'm coming for it.
Oh, don't eat them all.
Oh, I'm eating them all.
No, I mean, for me. So with the smashed potatoes, since some of my potatoes were really big and some of them were small, I had to cut some of them. I boiled them, the ones I could whole. I guess we could do it with this, but all I do with these is put them on parchment paper, smash them down like that, and then season them up. These are so good because you get like crispy bits, soft bits. Yeah, maybe next time I'll do Wellington and shepherd's pie. I don't know. I'll think about it. Wellington is a little bit of a cheat for me because I don't usually make it from scratch. Since I don't make the crust from scratch. The shepherd's pie I usually do. I'll make like a whole wheat crust for it. Okay, and then we can season these up with, I really like to use the Green Goddess seasoning. And you can spritz them with a little, you know what I'm going to spritz them with tonight? If you do oil, you could spritz them with a little oil first. If you don't, you can spritz them with a little bit of vegetable broth in a little spray bottle. But I actually have a spray bottle with Bragg's in it because I make air popped popcorn for the movies, and when I spritz the Bragg's on it, it helps the seasoning, like the garlic powder and the nutritional yeast, stick to the popcorn. So I always keep my Bragg's in a spray bottle. You can buy Bragg's in a spray bottle, but those spray bottles always break. They always stop working and then they don't spritz anymore. So I just bought one. So I'm going to go ahead and spritz these with my Bragg's. And instead of the Green Goddess tonight, actually, I'm just going to put garlic on them. Where's the garlic? Here it is. You can put paprika if you'd like. You could put onion powder. See, this is why I prefer garlic granules to garlic powder. The granules don't clump up. So this is how I do my popcorn, actually. A spritz of Bragg's and then the garlic, and stick it in the oven. Oh man, that pie is looking good. It's just about ready. Okay, what else can we do while we're waiting? We got the greens. That's good, we got our greens in. We've got the greens, we've got dessert, we've got our miso corn butter with potatoes, we've got our cranberry relish, cranberry orange relish. Let me put everything in bowls. I guess now's as good a time as any to let everybody know that I'm losing the Kitchen Plantastic and I'm just going to go by my name. I think it's just going to be easier, especially since I do the coaching. I don't want everybody to think that they have to, have to cook for me to be a coach for them. So be on the lookout. I'm going to make an announcement, and I'm also going to update my website because when Barbara and I were talking, I was talking about how I don't really like the word exercise when I'm coaching people because I was one of those people who would go to the gym and work out for an hour or two, and then I'd sit at my desk the rest of the day. And it's really just important to move your body throughout the day, whether it's a minute or two here, 10 minutes there. If you love working out, great, an hour, or hiking or biking or whatever. But I prefer the word movement. And when I was studying to be an acupuncturist, I went to shiatsu school and then I went to acupuncture school. I was very much into Tai Chi and Qigong. It was part of our curriculum, but I was so passionate about it that I had one of my mentors. I used to meet with her and a group in Santa Monica, and every Saturday morning we'd do Tai Chi in the park, and I've just found some Tai Chi groups here in San Francisco. But I also love yoga and I love hiking, and I've got a yoga teacher certification. I used to teach yoga in California. So I like to let people know that, because the coaching isn't just about the food, it's about lifestyle. And so for people who maybe need help and encouragement getting movement into their routine, maybe recommendations for different types of movements. Not everybody can practice yoga because of certain injuries, or not everybody can go to the gym and lift weight because of certain injuries, or they don't like it. So it's always fun for me to spend time exploring with people fun and natural ways to move throughout the day that don't have to do with, working out. So those are just some of the things that I offer in my coaching, and I want to make sure that that's clear on my website, that it's not just about the food, even though I'm very passionate about the food and I love cooking and teaching cooking. So be on the lookout for that announcement. Where's the timer at now? I think it's done.
Well, it's timer is at 4.5 minutes, but
it looks pretty done to me. Goodness. Okay, there it is. Well, look at that. How's that look?
Let's get it in focus here. Golden.
Yeah. So if I were doing this as an actual pie, you wouldn't have it like bubbling up around the edges. It's a one-sided pie. I don't know what you would call that. But we'll cut into it so you'll have the crust on top. So there it is.
Beautiful.
Yeah, that was actually pretty easy. And we've got our relish. We've got our baked yams with butter. We've got our greens. Do we still have our greens? David ate all the greens. And we've got our pie, which I'm going to garnish up like we did last week. And I think that's it. Anything else? No questions?
Let's give people a minute. We're on like a 10-second delay.
Okay.
And let's see. Maybe if you want to clear a couple of things off, so you could put them all sort of across, and we could get
across here.
Yeah, just
okay.
Like in around the pie.
Okay. Oh, our potatoes are still in the oven. Oh, you mean around it?
Yeah, or just near it. So here, I'm gonna switch cameras.
Okay.
So you can look up at the screen and you'll know where stuff should go.
Can you hand me a little plate?
Like this little?
I'm going to eat one of these now. David ate the other one.
Okay. It's offered to me.
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Of course.
He's so funny. I'll make something and I want David to eat his greens, but then I'll turn around and the greens are gone and there's none left for me. But it's hard to get mad because I'm glad he's eating his greens. Anything else on here? The potatoes are still in the oven. The smashed potatoes are still in there on 400. Those are going to take a few more minutes. But everything else is done. I think we've used up a lot of our leftovers. That was the goal. And stay tuned. I think I'm going to try to do something the night before Thanksgiving if you're interested. And I don't know what that, like I said, we're going to do the Wellington maybe.
We're keeping the studio set up in the kitchen, so there could be a pop-up stream at any time.
Well, and actually the truth is, I'm going to a friend's for Thanksgiving. She's having a Friendsgiving for all of us here who don't have family. And we all have to bring something, so I'll probably just film whatever it is I'm cooking to bring, which will probably be the Wellington and something else. And I'm also, David doesn't want to hear this, but for his birthday, I told you guys last week that I made him the cardamom rose birthday cake. But I made it kind of very naughty. It had shortening and it had, powdered sugar and white flour. So I'm going to make a whole food plant-based version of that. So I'm thinking of making that for Thanksgiving. And so if you join me, there's a very strong possibility we'll be making that. Okay, everyone. Thank you so much for your support and for being here. And I look forward to seeing you soon.
Bye.